The beauty that can come from people entertaining within the confines of a squared circle is nothing short of magic. From blood feuds to dream matches, this past 365 days have had some notable bouts. From WWE, AEW to New Japan Pro Wrestling and more, it's really hard to not find something great to watch in the world of wrestling. But for me personally, these 10 rose above them all. This is Extreme League Wrestling, and here are our top 10 matches of 2023. Number 10, Bad Bunny vs Damien Priest, WWE Backlash in a San Juan street fight. Celebrity matches within wrestling can go one of two ways. Either they're seen as a tremendous failure, or they're just alright. But this one did truly feel different. Enter Bad Bunny, literally the biggest star in all of music, entering his home of Puerto Rico, facing off against a rising Puerto Rican wrestler. At this year's Backlash Premium Live event, we saw former WrestleMania tag partners Bad Bunny and Damien Priest go one-on-one in a San Juan street fight. With this stipulation, of course, trying to cover up some of the lack of experience Bad Bunny had in the ring, with the way everything went off, you hardly could have ever noticed. Bad Bunny looks like a natural here. Brutal and violent, at least by WWE standards, this match gave us a reason to remember why Puerto Rico was known as one of the birthplaces of hardcore. Nostalgia pops galore in the best way possible, with cameos from Savio Vega and Carlito. This match and moment even leading to the latter rejoining the company. Match of the night in front of a white-hot San Juan crowd, it was a beautiful celebration of Puerto Rico wrestling history, culture, music, and that's why it opens our list. Number 9, the 4-Pillar 4-Way, AEW Double or Nothing. The 4 pillars of All Elite Wrestling have had high expectations placed upon them since literally being labeled the future of the company. While some have bloomed under this new pressure, some have had their work viewed through more of a critical lens if it doesn't automatically get over. All men were finally able to fly against each other in a 4-way for MJF's Triple B at AEW Double or Nothing to see what each one of them was truly made of. It's rare in modern wrestling to have a fleshed out motivation for every single person in these multi-man matches, but this executes it pretty gosh darn perfectly. MJF trying to pay off Sami to take the pin after finding out he's a father-to-be, Darby having issues trusting Jungle Boy and feeding more into his loner tendencies. Not to also mention Jack Perry battling his inner evil side after his blood feud with former mentor Christian Cage. Then there's Maxwell trying to find a way to escape with his beloved Triple B. We truly got to see all 4 men at their best, and even pay tribute to each one of their mentors. Much like a buffet, it's got a little something for everybody. Not to also mention MJF pinning Darby Allin with that dirty headlock takeover. All men make this hour-and-a-half match just fly by, while also leaving you wanting more. Number 8, Becky Lynch vs Tiffany Stratton for the NXT Women's Championship in a Extreme Rules match, NXT No Mercy. When it came to the inception of NXT 2.0, I, like many others, wanted to throw the baby out with the bathwater. So much so, it was quite literally the second video I ever made on this channel. Well, I'm here to say I've never been more happy to be wrong in my entire life. Unlike the rest of the IWC, I could take an L like an adult. The Attitude Era stylings of modern NXT have been truly refreshing in the ultra-serious, realistic wrestling era we find ourselves in. I could go on and on about this topic, but this is a topic that needs its own video entirely in the near future. The main roster integration that the brand has seen has definitely put more eyes on the product, and none have been more important than Becky Lynch finally winning the NXT title from Tiffany Stratton. This feud culminating at NXT No Mercy with this Extreme Rules match was match of the night on arguably one of the best pay-per-views of the year. The man was great as always, but this truly was a star-making performance for Strat. A greatly paced and sequenced weapons match showed that Daddy's Little Rich Girl had more of a ruthless side and did so much for her character. Go back and watch this match and frankly this entire PLE if you fell off of watching NXT after their move to Tuesdays, and to see why in this moment I'm eating so much crow it's like I'm at a Golden Corral. Number 7, Orange Cassidy vs Jon Moxley for the international title, AEW All Out. One of my personal highlights of this year in television was Orange Cassidy's international title run. Weekly defenses reminiscent of Cody's original TNT title Open Challenge, Cassidy was putting on weekly barn burners like it was light work. Orange Cassidy not only made a new name for himself with his first international title run, but put himself up there with some of the greats in the company. Sadly though, as the weeks wore on, Cassidy was a bit worse for wear, with his Orange Punch finisher slowly becoming less effective. After weeks of damage to his hand and his body, his back was getting closer and closer to the wall, week by week. This is where the ace of AEW, Jon Moxley, would come in and challenge Cassidy for the international title at All Out. Not only having to follow one of the biggest wrestling events in history in AEW All In from Wembley Stadium, but it also had to follow the controversial firing of CM Punk in Chicago. Cassidy and Moxley not only had to deal with all those outside pressures, they also had the pressure of sending the crowd home that night as they were going to be the main event. Cassidy fought like hell against the BCC member, leaving sweat, tears, and a whole lot of juice in the middle of the ring. Orange Cassidy's time with AEW has shown why he was exactly so sought after and was one of the first signings with the company. While he lost the match and his beloved title on the night, I think Cassidy has won a lot more this year. He's won the minds and hearts of the professional wrestling world. Number 6. MJF vs. Brian Danielson in an Iron Man match for the AEW World Title, AEW Revolution. When you have a young, newly minted world champion and your first homegrown star to boot, the first feud is truly make or break for their reign. And while not needing to be perfect, it definitely sets the tone for the stories to be told later on. MJF vs. Brian Danielson was the perfect feud from the jump for the Salt of the Earth's first defense of the Triple B. With MJF hitting William Regal so hard he bounced right back into WWE, Brian Danielson, defending the honor of his mentor, saw new fire within the American Dragon to take down Maxwell Jacob Friedman. Danielson truly has some of the best cardio in wrestling, so a 60-minute Iron Man match is tailor-made for him, but this would be the first time we would see MJF's back against the wall while defending his precious title. So his strategy is pretty simple going in to give up a couple of falls in order to greater capitalize on Brian later due to his cheating ways. And from an in-ring psychology standpoint, makes this an all-timer for the stipulation. MJF comes out on top here with a little bit of help from an oxygen tank, giving Brian and the rest of the BCC an edge and a chip on their shoulder for the rest of 2023. Number 5. Brian Danielson vs. Zack Sabre Jr., AEW Wrestle Dream. Personally for me, I enjoy going into most things blind, to grow my own opinion and to not have expectations going in. That was truly impossible with Danielson vs. Zack Sabre Jr.'s first ever one-on-one bout, and I wasn't left disappointed in the slightest. We almost got this match back in 2022, at the first ever Forbidden Door. You know, that year where everyone was injured, and we couldn't have nice things. A technical masterclass that truly highlights why each man has the head rights to the best in the world moniker. Not only satisfying within the ring, but the ending was beautiful and set up an eventual rematch that I'm sure we'll all have our eyes on next year. With Danielson winning by pinfall by way of a strike, this means that Zack Sabre Jr. never truly tapped out to the American Dragon. Also, that dragon screw makes my knees hurt just looking at it. While Danielson's full-time in-ring career will be winding down in 2024, I'm sure this rematch will be one for the ages and even have the possibility of being in the number 1 spot conversation. Number 4. Hangman Adam Page vs. Swerve Strickland in a Texas death match, AEW Full Gear. Holy shit, you sick fuck, and other chants I have to censor later on while editing this video do little to describe this literal blood feud. Swerve and Hangman Page have been two proxies and different ideas for AEW booking for some time now. Hangman was really the first top babyface in All Elite Wrestling. His match with Kenny Omega at Full Gear 2021 saw him climb the mountain and conquer his demons in the Elite and in his own mind. It was a bit tarnished by the title reign that left much to be desired, and the drama around CM Punk that will leave an impact on the company for decades to come. Then you have Swerve Strickland. After being released by WWE and his heel turn on ex-Tag Team Championship partner Keith Lee, this gave him the wings to finally see what he is truly made of and what has been waiting in the shadows. While he is still a success story in the world of rap and wrestling, he truly hasn't been given the same opportunities as Hangman, and this of course would lead to resentment and then his own madness. After a great match at Wrestle Dream in October, things were not quite done yet, and Swerve decided to turn it up to 11, breaking into Hangman's house and standing over his baby as he slept. At this past year's Full Gear, we saw a blow-off to this blood feud, in more ways than one. Hot from the jump, Hangman decides that Swerve should be cosplaying as a stack of papers, driving staples into his skin. A little too many, if you ask me. Once Strickland is busted open, Hangman is a unhinged, vengeful father, putting his lips up right to the slurvy machine, for lack of a better term. This is hardcore wrestling done right, and it shows the true beauty in what stipulations like this can have. Now, I understand this is not everyone's cup of tea. The blood and ultra-violence, if done correctly, shows more about these two men and these two wrestlers than any promo could ever tell. The anger, the disdain, the vengefulness. They finally allow the devil on their shoulder to say what it craves and to act upon it, making this feud that much bigger than just a wrestling match. Swerve picks up the win here, mirroring how Hangman beat Mox in the same match stipulation earlier in the year, and I mean man, strap the rocket to this sick fuck's back. Number 3, MJF vs Adam Cole for the AEW World Title, AEW All In. At the largest wrestling event ever thrown, you have to have a main event that can hold up to the historical significance. This match would not only see two of the best performers in the world put on a bout for the ages, it would push the concept of friendship to its limits. MJF and Adam Cole were having feud of the year prior to Cole's unfortunately timed injury. The former enemies turned brochachos for life, gave us sides to MJF we've never seen before, and added layers to Adam Cole he struggled to suppress. Calling back to their classic draw on AEW Dynamite earlier in the year, the two could not end the night on an unclear finish. 3 battles were happening simultaneously within that match. MJF vs Adam Cole, and each men's internal struggle with each other, to know that they were not only battling for the top prize, while also remembering that they're still friends, and if the top prize is truly worth putting that at risk. While we all waited and held our breath to see who would turn first, that didn't happen. Adam Cole was not defeated due to his in-ring skill. What defeated Adam Cole that night was his conscience. Could he really live with himself by seriously hurting his foe turned friend? The answer to that turned out to be no. Long enough of a hesitation and poor timing for Cole, because Max was able to use that time lapse in his judgment as an opening to retain his AEW World Title. Sometimes a main event to a big show doesn't need to end with a twist or a talk-worthy moment. Sometimes, with enough in-ring storytelling combined with some great wrestling, you can make history. And that's pretty cool if you ask me. Number 2, Roman Reigns vs Sami Zayn for the WWE title, WWE Elimination Chamber. When you follow a wrestler's career for long enough, seeing them hit the highest of highs that you and them can only dream of can truly be a euphoric moment. Sami Zayn's acceptance and then later betrayal of the bloodline was the catalyst to the cracks of the Tribal Chief's stranglehold on WWE. The story truly dives deep to explore male familial relationships and the abuse that can happen within families. You could truly write an entire college thesis on how Zayn went from honorary use to main eventing a WWE PLE in his hometown of Montreal to take down his former patriarch. When many people try to explain after the fact what it's like to watch a historic wrestling moment as it happened, it never truly does it justice. But this will be that time I try to explain to future generations, and I'm sure many others feel that way as well. The feeling whenever the music hits, the solid 5+ minutes of Roman and Sami just drinking in the moment, and the crowd just screaming, willing Sami to dethrone the Tribal Chief. While the underdog babyface standing up to the final boss is a quite used trope in wrestling, if done well, it comes off perfectly to a T. While Sami Zayn would not be the winner on the night, he would have his moment sooner rather than later. One that a certain luchador would be astonished to see. Real quick, before our number 1 pick, here are some of our honorable mentions. Again, there was so much good wrestling this year. I'm sorry if your favorite didn't make the list. This was a really hard list to cut down to 10. Let me know what your favorite match is in the link down below. Tell me how I'm wrong. Let's start a conversation about it, and let's see what your favorite match of 2023 was. And finally, our number 1 pick for the top match of 2023 is the Usos vs Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens, WrestleMania 39 Night 1. This closing match on the first night of WrestleMania 39 Night 1 is probably one of my favorite main events to ever be at the granddaddy of them all, full stop. While Sami Zayn never did dethrone the Tribal Chief, the true main story of the Bloodline saga was never truly Roman. It's Jey Uso. Jey Uso's Hell in a Cell match against Roman Reigns put all of this into motion, and later on Sami Zayn joining the Bloodline added a wrinkle into the story no one saw coming. The distrust Jey had in Sami really made SmackDown, Survivor Series, the Royal Rumble, and this year's Mania feel that much more important. From Jey finally embracing Sami after turning his back on Kevin Owens during War Games, to his dejection as Sami cracked a chair over Roman's back at the Rumble. What happens when the right hand of the Tribal Chief, the patriarch of the Bloodline, is told by an outsider, and a man he considers a brother, that he's being abused? Not to also mention the wonderful change of pace, seeing Sami turn on Owens and then having to regain his trust to take on the Usos. It makes my inner child beam with joy, seeing the same Sami that I fell in love with in NXT on the grandest stage of them all. As the bout was set, we finally saw Brothers by Blood face off against Brothers by Choice. Also, in a side note, my oh my, what a glow up the WWE Tag Division has seen. From going from afterthought main roster fodder to headlining the biggest show of the year. Through all of this though, one thing stayed true. Sami still cared about Jay. He still considered him a brother, and he knew that his brother deserved better. As Sami lines up Jay for the third and final haluva kick, he reminds Jay of something we all need to hear in our weakest moments. I believe in you. God, I love wrestling. And that is it. That is our list of the top 10 matches of 2023. What was your favorite match this year? Go ahead and let us know in the comments down below. Don't forget to suplex that like button and hit subscribe so you don't miss our next upload. Don't forget to check out the merch. Thank you so much for watching. This has been Extreme League Wrestling, and we'll catch you next time.